Wrong. On 9/11, they both hit the ground at the same time. The one that has to crush through 100,000 tons of steel falls at the same rate as the one that is free-falling through the air. And where's the pile driver anyway? It's completely missing. It's been shredded before the collapse gets about 2/3 of the way down the building. It's gone. There's no top of this building pushing the rest of this building down. That is the entire theory of the official pancaking or pile driving theory. Conservation of momentum requires mass. So if there's no pile driver, what's pushing the rest of the building down underneath it? You've all played this game, how long ago? 20, 30 years. We had these kinetic energy balls. Well, if you don't have any mass, you can't get the ball to come out the other side. If you don't have a pile driver, you can't push the building down. Something else has to be doing it. That can only be explosives. Now, watch the rubble falling outside the building at the same rate that this missing pile driver is theoretically pushing the building down all the way to the ground at the same rate.
Oh my God.
Well, almost the same rate. Let's look at it another way. You take a fifth of the mass of a building. It's like Jenga. How many of you played that block game where you stack them up and you try to wait till they tip over? You put one on top, is it going to crush the rest, even if there was some column failure on a floor? No, the mass of the building below will resist. There's many ways to look at this. Every one of them exposes that on 9/11, many laws of physics were violated. Do we have squibs or explosive cutter charges visible at the upper floors? Let's see.
In all the videos of the collapses, explosions can be seen bursting from the building 20 to 30 stories below the demolition wave. Here, 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 here,
I think we get the idea. It goes on and on. What are these squibs? Well, we're told by NIST that these are puffs of air which is caused by the building, which doesn't exist up top, pushing down, causing air to come through the elevator shaft, out into the open office plan, and through, somehow, mysteriously, the exact center of these buildings, symmetrically around the buildings, 40 floors or more below the ensuing collapse. Puffs of air. Well, first of all, they're not puffs of air. They're pulverized building materials. And second of all, these explosions can be, you can calculate their velocity because we have the video. It's 100 to 200 feet per second. The puffs of air are not going to create that velocity. Third of all, say that was the elevator over there. The air came down through the elevator. This is an open office plan. This is about 60-foot span. Guess what? The air coming down through there is going to fill the room uniformly and then blow out every window if it has that much pressure, which it probably wouldn't. It wouldn't be a highly focalized ejection at the center point symmetrically around these buildings, and it wouldn't be 40 floors below. Do we have a straight down symmetrical collapse outside the footprint? Yes, 1,400-foot diameter to be exact, with the explosive force on the aluminum cladding, which went the farthest. The debris area was 20 times the area of the footprint of the towers. Here is the plan. Here is the devastated area. I'm going to go back and forth really fast so you can see them. Note the nice rubble pile that Building 7 produced, and then the expansive debris field of the Twin Towers, a completely opposite type of controlled demolition, leaving a smoking crater, not a pile of pancakes. This is a 7-story lobby. About 2 stories, maybe 3 of it, are filled with debris. Where is the rest of the debris? Where are the 110 floors of 20-gauge steel decking with 4 inches of concrete on it, 110 floors, an acre in size, 43,000 square feet per floor? Wouldn't we expect to see 1 or 2 of them down at the bottom, or 50? They couldn't find any steel decking. They couldn't find any trusses. They couldn't find any macroscopic chunks of concrete. It was pulverized to dust, as we'll see. This is what buildings look like when they pancake collapse. Again, from Mexico, a concrete structure fallen in an earthquake. We see stuff at the base of the building. The panels are missing. Tom Patrizio, the guy who brought the panels to the World Trade Center in the 60s, was looking for them as he was working on the demolition. He couldn't find one of them. We'd expect to see maybe 1/8 of the height of the building. We don't. We see about maybe 2%. You can see right through these tree fork columns at the base. Do we have pools of molten metal? Leslie Robertson, structural engineer for the World Trade Center. As of 21 days after the attack, the fires were still burning and molten steel was still running. You have to deal with this. This is the structural engineer of the World Trade Center. When somebody says, NIST says there was no molten metal, no evidence of molten metal, you remind them of this structural engineer on October 5th, 2001 at the National Conference of Structural Engineers. Chief O'Toole says, remember seeing a crane lifting a steel building beam vertically from deep within the catacombs of the ground zero. It was dripping with molten steel. We saw the video from Mark Lazo already talking to us about the molten steel that he found in under all three buildings. Fires burned and molten metal flowed in the pile of ruins still settling beneath my feet. Sarah Atlas. We already saw the previously solidified molten metal. Thermite-induced World Trade Center demolitions would explain the molten metal. Let's take a look. First, from the fire department.
Down below and you'd see molten steel running down the channel rails, like you're in a foundry. Like lava.
Like lava flowing through a volcano. That's pretty clear. Now, what does NIST say, the head engineer at NIST say about the molten metal?
I'm curious about the pool of molten steel that was found in the bottom of the towers.
I am too.
And
Please tell me about it. Have you seen it?
well, not personally, but eyewitnesses there found huge pools of molten steel beneath the towers, and some scientists don't think that the collapse of the building could have melted all that steel. And physics professor analyzed some of the steel, and Stephen Jones, and he found evidence of thermate residue, which would explain how the buildings collapsed by means of pre-planted explosives. So, have you analyzed the steel for any of those residues?
First of all, let's go back to your basic premise that there was a pool of molten steel. I know of absolutely nobody, no eyewitness who said so, nobody who's produced it.
You'd get down below and you'd see molten steel running down the channel rails, like you're in a foundry. Like